Well, I guess people like these videos, so let's talk more about this sort of theoretical Vegito sweet spot, the VEGITO G spot. Again, none of this is real per se, but how can we make it as real as possible, you know? So you want to get, it's this sort of range where you can harass the opponent with the far orb while still being able to make the Banshee Blast split finger shot safe even without this vanish install option select. A range where we can bait the opponent that even if they were to try to get out of blocking the orb early with something, we sassy kick. We have random opportunities for big throws, anti-airs. We can make the stand medium hit at even to then abuse the priority of system of the game, right? To make the opponent hesitate for stuff. We can even set up falling Banshee Blast stuff from this, etc., right? So I don't want to get into that whole mess about Vanish installing again already. I already showed it's possible. Get over it, right? So again, remember, to get into some important quotation marks, ideas, or strings that we can use to set some of this, to set up the G spot correctly, more properly. Remember, in this game, you got to remember to stagger your fireballs, right? Because normally, if you do this normally, obviously the guy can homing dash or reflect out of stun. But when you stagger this properly and you just slightly miss, the opponent can now only reversal and they cannot actually cancel that stun as normal, right? You can't get out of this through normal methods as normally you think you can, I guess to say, right? As we can see here. So then we get into a pretty important string here, right? Something as simple as a well-spaced medium to orb, hard orb. At this range, the Banshee Blast is actually safe even without it install. This is also an easy setup as it flows really easily if the opponent somehow did manage to reversal homie dash out of the orb, because we have spots that are already automatically accounted for, ready to save us, right? The hard here will beat the homing dash. We also have the idea we are randomly throwing in sassy kicks that will stop a reversal homing dash. Again, we're using this idea, this random bug that is in the game, to make this more safe than it looks actually at safe value. Of course, if the opponent were to reflect, yes, there are some points where you can reflect, but you're already staggering your pressure with a specific string, so you're kind of already accounted for that in this instant as well. Also, of course, remember, if you're ever doing a duck hard to Banshee Blast stuff, remember you need to homing dash randomly and not just always Banshee Blast. Hopefully that's obvious, blah, blah, because that's not safe, right? There needs to be a mix-up, right? So let's get into more ways. How can we set up the G spot of the stand medium? Well, here again, we have some pretty simple string examples, right? Again, none of this is real, but it's using the idea of the priority system to our advantage, staggering to make it so you use that bug so the opponent cannot actually reflect and homing dash out of this as normally. We have the random sassy kicks here and there to keep the opponents honest as well, to make them more hesitant. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and it looks ridiculous. And of course, none of it's real, but we're making it as real as we can, deceptively more real, I guess, maybe, in a sense, sort of, right? So then again, how would we get into some other ways? How can we set up some mid-screen falling Banshee Blast split finger stuff, right? Well, there are some other ways, right? And, I know the Discord, for some reason, was trying to post some bullshit that I didn't know that Duck Little Punch is untoo hardable to homing dash. I did, and I've talked about it before. You guys are so far behind me, it's ridiculous. I actually mentioned it just even the recent video, right? So, but let's use some duck lights to our advantage, right? And something I actually didn't see the Discord talk about that I've seen is, what about just duck lighting to an overhead to reset your pressure? Because when you do a duck light to the overhead, unlike maybe almost every other character in the game, Vegito's duck light to an overhead is not able to be mashed out of through normal means because duck light does so much stun. So we also have something like a duck light to an overhead to reset our pressure. We even have homing dash options to, of course, make the homing dash untoo hardable. And I don't want to get into too many specifics, but there's actually ranges and specific things where, again, character specifically as well, I could go so advanced on this. There's actually some characters you cannot even use the normal ABC system of mind game after a homing dash. Vegito actually has an option to beat all the ABC options versus certain characters, but that's getting so specific. I don't want to get in that far. But again, even a homing dash, a quotation mark safe homing dash, you can set this kind of stuff up, right? So then from this range as well, we have something like, imagine a 2 light, whatever it might be, stand punch, whatever it is, to a duck medium to slide. Then lightsaber. Well, lightsaber coincidentally puts you in a range where you can do falling banshee blast stuff. And you're doing this all during stagger pressure. So if the opponent were to try to mash out after a lightsaber, at this range, not only does your light beat their light, even the Banshee Blast beats them trying to mash out of this. And then depending on the character, you can then jump light link to hit the character. You know, you're covering a lot of angles here potentially. But anyway, to bring this all together, again, none of this is real, but how can you make it as real as possible? And to actually end this, though, as cool as this all is, it always comes back to what I said about this game. Unfortunately, even if you were to, and I've talked about ways, you know, if you watch how I would change Vegito, because there are ways you could actually make this more real because there's a foundational idea here. But the problem is, at the end of the day, there's not real block damage in this game. And this stuff is still really slow. And that's one of the hypocritical things that bothers me about this game, because even the falling Banshee Blast stuff is a great example. Even if you vanish install that, and again, it's very specific because when you vanish install at that range, I've showed the guy can actually jump, actually, which is a conundrum. But even at that range, the Banshee Blast is just so slow. You got to be really slow to not react to this if it's just slow solo. You can do it so slow. And that's one of the things that irks me about this game, because it's very hypocritical, because then you get at the idea, it's like, wow, you know what I mean? You're basically, the only reason this stuff really kind of works even more so, again, not that anyone is doing this, obviously, I'm just so far ahead of you guys. It's ridiculous, but, you know, I've thought about how the game could potentially be played, but this game is so hypocritical because it discourages, you know, tag team synergy with supers and everything, but they actually have a training mode thing where they literally want you to use homing dash and everything with your assists. And a lot of this stuff is just so it's like, man, the only reason you get away with this more so is because you have assists. And it just is, it's such a hypocritically made game. It really is. It's annoying even thinking about playing this game. And that's why I actually don't really think about it, to be honest with you. That's why I said it's kind of ridiculous to me that I know more about this game, it seems, than people who dedicate their lives to this game, and I don't even fucking play it. But anyway, making a video to show some ways to get into the G spot, theoretical kind of stuff that works to, you know, maybe an extent more than you would actually believe. But again, I don't want to get into all that homing dash stuff. I mean, I could go really more in depth with that, obviously, but anyway, blah 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 blah. Remember, if you like the video, support the channel. If you support the G spot, hit the G spot, like, sub, so they